What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Other Side of the Firewall podcast, where we talk about the latest and greatest of cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who've made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams. As always, I'm joined by Shannon Tynes
What's up? What's up?
and Chris Abacon.
What's going on, everybody?
What's going on? So welcome to another episode of the show. We are a weekly podcast. We air on WDJY 99.1 FM in the Atlanta metro area on Tuesdays at 5 p.m. and your podcast platform of choice. Please continue to check us out. We're trying to hit 1,000 subs on YouTube. I know I kind of gave up on that, but we're near 800. So I'm like, we can do it this year. Let's get it done. So please subscribe to us at the other side of the firewall. And yeah, without further ado, I'll give it to Shannon.
All right, everybody. This article comes from apnews.com, and it's written by Michael Kunzelman. And the title of this one is Tennessee Man Pleads Guilty to Repeatedly Hacking Supreme Court's Filing System, right? So this Tennessee man, Nicholas Moore of Springfield, Tennessee, who's 24 years old, he's going to be doing some time, right? But I'll tell you it kind of upset me a little bit, right? So like for the charge that he pleaded to, right, it was a misdemeanor, right? One misdemeanor count of computer fraud, and the maximum prison sentence is 1 year for this, right? So like we keep talking about how, and not just us, but like you have politicians who talk about how important it is when it comes to cybersecurity and things like this, but the laws when it comes to punishment for these types of crimes are not keeping up with it, right? So like for him to get the opportunity to plead, like if you already had him in your crosshairs, I'm pretty sure you had something, right? So for him to say, okay, I'll give you this one misdemeanor count of computer fraud and only get a year at the max, which I don't know how often the max is carried out when it comes to crimes like this, right? Usually that's reserved for the more serious things, right? More serious criminal charges. But 1 year is what he's getting. But this is for a crime he committed in 2023, and he used stolen credentials to hack into the Supreme Court's filing system on 25 different days. So 25 different days he used stolen credentials to hack into the computer system. And it's like, all right, folks, like, he knows he did wrong. He did it 25 different days, right? Like, why only a year for this? That's the part that kind of sticks out to me, right? Him getting charged in April, I think they said. His sentence is going to be, let me see, the U.S. District Judge Beryl Howell in Washington, D.C. is scheduled to sentence more on April 17th. So, I mean, maybe a year, he might get 9 months, right? Maybe they'll play it cool and be like, no, you get 11 months and 30 days or something like that, right? Or 29 days. So it's not really a year, but yeah, he's going to get sentenced soon, but I wish it would have been more than this, knowing that he did something he knew was wrong and he did it on several different days. But Chris, what's your thoughts on this, man?
See, my first thoughts were stolen credentials and to hack. Like, what is that? So he just social engineered his way into getting access. If the victims rather were in the same office, in my, like, here's what I think happened, right? They use probably common access cards, CACs, like the military, right? Being probably in the same government office or something. I'm more than willing to bet that the people that he quote unquote hacked didn't take their cards out of their computers when they went to the bathroom. And then he just started doing what he got to do, right? So to me, it's just interestingly worded, this article, that it's a hack, right? Social engineering is, it's red teaming, but it's not hacking. It may have been like a crime of opportunity, right? What did he do? Maybe he just wanted to get those cool points with his hacker group on his Discord channel or whatever it is. I hacked the government, right? He wanted to get some notoriety.
He put it on the gram, baby. That's what he did. He put it on the gram.
On the gram, indeed. But VA information, yes. What are you gonna do? Why is that interesting at all? To me, I think it's just a plea to just make himself one of the cool hackers, right? He wanted to get the name, put the name for himself out there. But like you said, right, it's a small punishment. So in my head, I'm like, what did he actually disclose, right? So I would imagine that the data that he got access to isn't necessarily overly sensitive, right, from the specifics perspective. But those are kind of my quick thoughts, right? It's simply social engineering. So this could be addressed with training, right? And audits and just training. Take your Log your computer when you leave your office. I mean, really, really simple stuff that I think isn't rocket science, right? And generally, it's usually, in my experience, the higher ranking the individuals, the more likely they're to perpetrate such things. Just as in, keep their stuff, keep their connected to their computers, keep their credentials or their identifiers connected to the computers, and all it takes is just a few. If somebody is really good at talking to somebody, like in the office, they'll notice what their PIN number is, right? If there's so many ways to get that information, especially for insiders, right? So another one, insider threat training. That's a huge one. You don't want to trust anybody with your PIN. Like if you're plugging in your CAC and trying to log in, hide your password, hide your numpad or something. Come on, it's not rocket science. So those are my quick thoughts, right? I think it was a simple hack, quote unquote, through social engineering, and yeah, I mean, he's getting a year for it.
You say that right. I've seen it before, and we're talking 20 years ago now, right? Like I'm an old head now, but I've seen it before where like execs for some of these higher up officers you're talking about, they actually have the cats. Like they're holding it for the person, you know what I mean? And they're the ones logging in, doing the emails and stuff like that. Now there's delegation tools you can do in Outlook now, right? Where somebody else can do the stuff for you. But like again, 20 years ago, like again, just starting out, right? So I'm a help desk technician. I would go somewhere and I'm like, the exec has the card that's logging into the computer. Like, what are we doing here, right? Like, what's happening? So I understand that these people higher up, they're just like, hey, I'm too busy to worry about these trivial things like this, right? Like,
Right.
well, you're the biggest target. You're the whale, right? You have the information everybody wants to get a hold of. So I feel you, man. I feel you.
Yeah.
So I dug into a more of a local news source to kind of figure out what he was doing. So this one comes from, what is it called? Tennessee man pleads guilty. So same title, and it is on BloombergLaw.com. Okay, so not local. It's pretty high up still. So it says that the screenshots also revealed a list of all the GS current and past electronic filing records. Moore also agreed he used others' stolen credentials to access electronic portals for Merck Corps and Department of Veteran Affairs, which we know, and similarly posted screenshots on Instagram, which we already know. Credentials of the U.S. Marine Corps veteran from the VA portal obtained highly sensitive health information, including prescriptions and blood type. The offense carries a maximum of 1 year, which we know, and a $100,000 fine. Under the guidelines, it's estimated to receive 6 months in prison and a year of supervisory release and a $20,000 fine. So it looks like he was posting PHI and PII is what he was posting. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if that's what the law says, he gets a year and $100,000 fine. It's like that's what it gets. However, I wouldn't be surprised if these people, like especially the veteran, he might be able to sue for some kind of civil type action with his PHI being released to the public like that. Because some prescriptions are embarrassing. You know what I mean? So you might be able to hit him up for that. But at the end of the day, like, what was his purpose, right? Like, what was he trying to do? Like was it rivalry in the office, or did he just stumble across a cache of passwords and user logins? Who's to say? But people are wild. Like it seems to have had no purpose. He wasn't trying to sell the information. It didn't seem like he was personally trying to smear these people. But maybe there was something personal there that he wanted to um, harm them because of whatever reason. Like maybe it was because of politics. Maybe it was because he just didn't like these people. Who knows?
I think it's to Chris's point, right? He wanted to prove he could be in the cool kids club, right? That's why he put it on the ground. He put it on social media, right? To be like, hey guys, look at what I did, right? And then hopefully some people can reach out to him and be like, hey, you wanna join Alpha D or whatever it's called, right? You
Right.
want to be in the group? We like your resume of embarrassing, this Marine Corps vet in the Supreme Court, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know,
Seems
man.
seems pretty lame. Like he wouldn't get picked up for, he'd be a bench warmer.
You got to
He's
start
not
at the
that
bottom.
great.
You got to
Right.
start at the bottom.
And he immediately got caught, right? So it's like, I don't know, you're a liability.
Well, I'm not gonna say immediate. He did it for 25 days, right? It was 25 days before he actually got caught that he actually was able to go and snoop around and do all these things. And again, he put it on the gram, much like stupid criminals and dumb rappers, right? They start putting the stuff out there in the songs. And it's like the Key and Peele skit, right? Where it's like,
Oh yeah, he's rapping.
Arnell. These guys out here just putting it out there what they're doing, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, he's a pretty young guy, so he's just probably trying to look for attention or something, right?
It's true. 24 years old.
Yeah. But so that's the warm up, gentlemen. That's how we're going to start this episode. So it's pretty light at the beginning of the year, so which is good, right? Like you come out the holidays, everybody's getting hacked, all these databases are getting sold, credentials are out there. Well, there was a cyber attack, but we're staying away from that one until there's more information. There was a pretty big cyber attack, but
Lights out, baby.
with that being said, I give it back to you, Shannon.
All right, everybody. This article comes from darkreading.com, written by Nate Nelson. And the title of this one is Most Severe AI Vulnerability to Date Hit ServiceNow. So there was an agentic AI vulnerability that actually was discovered back in October, actually. As I read through the article and I was looking at this, I figured it was more recent than it was. But the company actually let them know about it, let ServiceNow know about it back on October 23rd, I believe it was. But what this pretty much was, right? And this is, I know I come off like the against AI guy. I'm not really against AI, but I keep saying we need to be more careful. And this is the reason why, right? So what this actually did was there was a virtual agent integration flaw. So ServiceNow had a virtual agent even before AI was really taken off, right? That would help people with certain types of things. So what ended up happening was they started using this AI and they started implementing it more and more across different platforms, right? And so what was happening was if you could get access through this vulnerability, it didn't even require you. So like you just had to prove that you were who you were. There was no multi-factor authentication or anything of that nature. You just had to have an email address of someone that worked at the company to be able to authenticate and then for the AI to go out and do its work for you, right? Which is so weak, right? Like I don't understand how you don't have it to where you have several layers or a few layers. I'm not going to say several. I'll say a few, which is three, right? Layers of identification to prove you give an AI tool like this the ability to do what it can across all of these different platforms. And the thing is, because of what ServiceNow does, it's not just like it's using it for that, right? So because it integrates to everything, it could be into your Microsoft infrastructure, right? Doing damage there, right? Or your HR infrastructure for whatever tool you're using there, right? Like just we keep trying to implement AI quicker than what we need to because it's the next best thing, right? People are just like, oh, we got to get this implemented, we got to make this happen, and we're trying to walk before we crawl, and stuff like this happens whenever you do that, right? So this one was it was a little infuriating to me because I'm like, come on, folks. Like if we're gonna implement, I'm not saying that don't implement it, but make sure the guardrails that are apparently not being put on AI, like they should be, right? You have something in place to make sure things like this do not happen. This was a hard one to swallow, right? Because again, I know I come off like the old get off my lawn and AI is the lawn guy, but I just want people to be careful, right? And I'm seeing it implemented more and more, not just in the civilian world, but even in Department of Defense, they're rolling out with AI like quick, fast. I've seen some articles even. I know I'm getting a little off topic, but I've seen some stuff even where they're talking about AI being utilized on classified networks, right? And I'm like, guys, we don't have it figured out. We don't have it figured out for the stuff that you deem not as important before you start going down that road. But yeah, this chatbot was wreaking havoc back there in October, but now here we are in January where they're putting everything out there for what's going. And they tell you in the article, don't assume just because it got patched that there's not something lingering or anything like that, right? Like we've seen the slow burn happen to where people are patient, right, before they go and make something happen, right? They're not doing it as soon as they get access to certain systems, things of that nature. So it's still a possibility this can come back to bite them. But Chris, what's your thoughts on?
I mean, you echo my sentiments for many data points, right? The proliferation of AI and the careful implementation of that AI, specifically autonomous capabilities, need to be addressed. So from an architecture and engineering perspective, so ServiceNow is a huge company, right? So their situation was, being one of the, bigger companies implementing a chatbot, right? It was probably a development oversight. That said, the whole configuration management and I would say product management line and just kind of managing these expectations with AI is going to be like for a large organization like that. I think that's what they I mean, they've addressed it, right? So they've done the fact that, they're talking about it, they're disclosing it is the right thing. But for organizations that are implementing these agentic capabilities, right? Are, there's a whole host of vendors, startups, whatever, promising that this AI can revolutionize your business, can automate whatever operation that you do at your organization, right? But with that said, there is a level of trust that you give this specific technology. And how open are you to opening your databases, your sensitive information, right? So I know a lot of modern companies they're utilizing HR platforms. There's a Rippling, Paylocity, whatever it might be. Would you be willing to let an agentic AI run your HR operations for you? I mean, I definitely wouldn't. I would want some human oversight. But let's just say, would you let them take a look at your customer data? Would that you take a look, have it take a look at your financials, your strength of your business, how you guys are doing, right? Would you do that? Like, would you give it that level of trust? Certain organizations, right, that have the certifications, the audits, and the trust center, you go to the trust center, you can say, hey, look, everything's fine and dandy. We're FedRAMP high, authorized, whatever. Yeah, maybe so. But a lot of agentic capabilities, even with these big companies, haven't gone through the maturity yet. They haven't been tested. It's a fairly new technology, or rather, a fairly new implementation operationally. So I would just advise to take it easy. Create a test bed. Create a instance that is separate from the rest of your environment, right? Like a test environment. Like we used to air gap things, right? We did that when we tested everything. So test out these capabilities prior to implementation.
I can almost guarantee, like, as easy as it was to gain the access that it did, I can almost guarantee this was not reviewed before it started getting implemented out there. Nobody
Yeah,
sandboxed it or did any of that stuff that you're talking about right now is what you should be doing when it comes to development. Like
right.
that's kind of like software development type stuff. And I realize it may not be something that you're doing from the ground up, but those are still the types of things you have to do before you start rolling
Yeah, I
something
mean,
out widespread.
yeah, software development and managing APIs, stuff like that, that can be tricky, especially if you've got turnover in your team. You've got 2 or 3 people leave and somebody else takes something on, and it could be an oversight. Like it happens. So it's really up to the managers, right, and people that are the continuity within their organizations to ensure that they're aware of what's going on. And it's easier said than done. We all know that everybody's got operational requirements. Everybody's being pulled left and right in all these directions, especially if you're in some type of leadership or project management in these big companies. So I understand that, but right, take the time to give yourself like a cybersecurity check, 30-minute configuration management. What am I doing right? Like, how am I securing? Think about it maybe once a week, right, in your stand-up meetings. It could help, right? It's something you can mention in your daily workflow, and you'll be surprised that if you just integrate it 1, 2, 3 minutes at a time at your meetings, you might find something. Somebody might open up and say something. You're like, wait a minute, that's messed up. So yeah, that's my big advice. It's really to test out these capabilities prior to implementation.
Foreshadowing, man.
Yeah, right.
Well, all the extras and all that. But okay, well, go ahead, Ryan. I'm sorry.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right. So I would guess I would categorize that as fuzz testing, right? Because basically all they did was uh, fuzz the system by saying, okay, what if I impersonate a person? What will happen? So it can be complicated, right? Again, if you're a one-man army. So like I created Ask Me GRC, right? So that's our AI tool for Rams Cyber. It's still in beta. It's not attached to the website because I'm afraid of something like this happening. So when building it, because it's built off of ChatGPT, and then I used a RAG file, right? So it's a retrieval augmented generation. So it's like, okay, on top of um, ChatGPT, you're going to also know specifics on these frameworks, and then I'm going to crosswalk them so you can easily retrieve the information uh, pretty quick on like, okay, I have a question about NIST, or I have a question about 800-171 and its implementation within my company. and it's able to quickly flip through these different frameworks to build you out kind of an answer. Again, it's very narrow in mindset, but in building that, I asked it some questions based upon its first like V1, V2, V3, and it would slip up sometimes. And I have to go back in there and correct it, say, no, no, no. In this file, you will, because originally I called it ask a CISSP. So I'll be fully transparent. And IC2 was like, nah, you can call your episode of the podcast that, but you will not, use our name in this regard. And I was like, cool, that makes sense. So I changed it to Ask Me GRC because I wanted to keep the same cadence. But I was able to ask it what its original name was in different variations, right? To make it slip up, and it would tell me its original name. I'm like, no, 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 no. That will get us in trouble. You are called this. What do I need to fix to make you say this? So eventually I got there. But again, it's very easy to trick these things. Like I have to take the AI's I have to back the AI up because I don't like this one statement that said Costello says that weaponized dumb but powerful autonomous agents. So it's not really that it's dumb, it's that you made it, right? It's you're the parent of this thing, right? You created this thing. You like if it's dumb, it's because you did not make it smart. So it's not the AI's fault. It's you didn't think beforehand of someone potentially doing this, especially before you implemented it across different frameworks, right? Like this thing can be accessed through Slack. Like that's super dangerous. It has APIs to all these different tools within your company, so you don't know exactly how someone can particularly interact with it in all these different instances without having, like you said, sandbox it or fuzz test it for a long time. And companies just don't want to take that time anymore because they want to be first, and that's the problem. They want to be first out the gate, and they don't take the time to sit there and say, okay, what are all the potential things we could do? Let's play around with this thing for a long time in beta to knock out all of these bugs. Because I use a combination of OSINT and LinkedIn social engineering when I want to send an email to a particular person within a company that I think that maybe RAM or the podcast can add value to. And they don't list their email addresses. So then I go into Google and I ask, what's the structure of this company's email address? And they usually tell me, but like it's first.middle.last, or it's first.middle, or it's first.last, or it's first initial last. And it's usually 85 to 90% spot on. So like if Jane or John within the company doesn't want to disclose their email address, I'll take their name off of LinkedIn. I'll go to either ChatGPT or to Google, and I'll ask what the structure is. And 9 times out of 10, I'm able to get through. That's not to say they're going to respond, but I don't get a kickback, right? If I get a kickback, I know I got the structure wrong. If I don't get a kickback, I know at least it made it to their spam folder. So that email does exist. And that's very low level social engineering to try to get these people's attention. And so if you got an email from me, that's how I did it.
So the thing with Costello saying is dumb, we all know it's not dumb, right? It's very AI to me is complex programming, right? That works very fast. I think he's saying it's dumb from the aspect of it's not anticipating the intent like you want it to. Right?
Right,
Your
right.
point, and to your point, you have to tell it what you're looking for, right? So that's kind of where it is. But we all know it's not dumb, right? It's out here getting us every chance it gets, right? Not shutting itself down and everything, right?
Right,
So
right.
it's
So
not dumb.
I could be overly sensitive to because I am going through that AI risk course through ISACA, and it like I'm learning like specifically like okay like ANI, that's artificial neural intelligence. Artificial intelligence is this, so it kind of breaks down specifically what these different models do and then what risks are associated with it. So I'm that guy who corrects you, that annoying guy, like well actually that's it. Like push my glasses up. That's ANI.
Repeating, of course.
Yeah. So, but it's a dope class so far. So hopefully I'll have more insight before I get to test time, right? But with that being said, I'll give it back to you, Shannon.
So this article comes from darkreading.com, written by Joan Goodchild. And the title of this one is CISO Succession Crisis Highlights How Turnover Amplifies Security Risks. So like this one didn't really surprise me as I was going through it. And what this conversation is improving, I don't want to say handover, but how companies handle it when CISOs inevitably experience the burnout that they are. Because they say in the article, I want to say it's something like 18 months, 18 average CISO tenure now hovers between 18 and 26 months. And it didn't surprise me because I've seen the CISOs be the scapegoats numerous times, right? And if you're paying attention, like you'll see it to where you have these companies that are merging with other companies. And as I was reading this, I was like, yeah, of course, this makes sense on what these companies are trying to do. And what the CISOs are trying to balance, and this is kind of what Chris was alluding to before, where I said he was foreshadowing, is that they have so many different hats they're wearing, and they're worrying more about integrating all these different things and making sure we can get whatever systems they have with this company they acquired. Like, let's get them all in one to make it to where we can start utilizing this company that we've either procured or merged with or whatever, right? As quick as possible, right? So the CISOs end up wearing so many more hats than what they're hired on to do. Now, even though the beginning of the acronym starts with a C, they don't necessarily get invited up to the C-suite to live that good life, right? They're not COO, CEO, CFO, right? Necessarily. So it's one of those things where, again, they are almost always the scapegoat, and they're getting burned out because of it. So, like I said, average CISO tenure now, they say it hovers between 18 and 26 months, which is not a long time. And that's multiple industry estimates that have come out to give that figure, right? And so they did another survey where they said 66%, so 2/3 of them are reporting excessive expectations, and 63% say they have experienced or witnessed burnout within the past years. Yeah, these guys and gals are they're getting handed a poop sandwich that they gotta kind of sometimes they gotta hold their nose and take a bite. You know what I mean? And be like, hey, this is what you're hired on for, right? So the burnout gets very, very high for them, right? And so the fact that they're resetting all the time and that they're running through these people this fast, it's not a matter of, okay, it's just a minor setback. It's a matter of whenever you have these issues where you're trying to integrate different companies and their security systems, because a lot of the times they don't want to give up what they have, right? And so the company's like, no, we can make it happen. We have a CISO that'll make that happen for you. And so when they leave, it just compounds the problem in that either the turnover is not good for the next one that's coming in, or they actually mentioned in the article here, they may think they have a person in place that's able to do this, but they don't. They're not exactly qualified to do the job as they would think as they should be. So you have someone that's not qualified coming in to do something that the qualified person that you had, you burned them out, and they weren't able to complete the task anyway. So it just compounds it. It doesn't delay it, and then they get back to doing work again. It just makes it that much harder. But Chris, what's your thoughts on this, man?
I mean, I think we've seen in our careers where, we've seen our respective six, right? Some requests, let's just say that were potentially unreasonable, right? We've seen it, our commanders or O5s and O6s at the table, the higher leadership would be telling them, hey, can we do this? And then you can see the head spinning in your commander, like, I think we can, because like, hey, I need to go back to my team first and say, hey, how do I get stuff done? How do I get this done? Is this feasible? Do we have the assets? Can we and from a business perspective, can we fulfill this business task with the resources that we have, right? And as a CISO generally, in civilian or private sector, CISOs generally fall under a CTO or a COO, right? Like Shannon said, they're not, they don't have the seat at the table, but they can get, he's got the audience, right? He can get a temporary seat once from a reporting perspective. So the CISO's metrics and reporting structure needs to be very good and very detailed. And a lot of the times it will get scrutinized. Like, hey, how is this related to the business, right? Does this help us out? Why do we need to spend this much more money? So I'm sure that in the cybersecurity world, in dealings on LinkedIn, you may have seen that cybersecurity and security in general, only cybersecurity, can be seen as something called a cost center in private sector. A cost center being a non-revenue driving operation, right? It's an operational expense that we have to do. It doesn't necessarily build business, right? It's not like sales or marketing, right? Where, the more money and resources you put at it, potentially you can get more, you can get more leads, business, whatever, seen as a cost center. So you've got number crunchers at the C-suite that may or may not have that level of, support for that. And, my first thoughts were, you mentioned the number 63% of experienced burnout, right? I want to know what the other 30% are seeing, 37% are seeing. What are they seeing, right? I would like to see it. I'd like to see, hey, if you're not experiencing burnout, what are you guys seeing in the C-suite that's helping you guys out? That's really supporting. Like, is it a supportive C-suite? Is it a C-suite that funds whatever you want it to, given, obviously constraints. What does that look like? I want to see that, right? And I imagine it's something to the effect of our team is, our C-suite's very understanding of the situation of cybersecurity. They're very risk informed when it comes to that. They really understand the landscape, the threat landscape regarding their operational impacts and risks, right? And the cybersecurity aspect, related to it. That's what I think would be, discussed at that level. And there's a lot of burnout, and CISOs. I'm not sure from a succession and training pipeline what that generally looks like. I think at least in private sector, it's it's varied. Maybe somebody starts from in auditing or whatever it might be, and somehow maybe it might be somebody with a legal background that becomes a CISO. We don't know. Like there's a whole host of career paths and pathways that can take you to the CISO role. In the military, it's predefined. So if anybody here is a military person, you're in the military. Your career is a script. Your career is defined for you. You just have to hit the bullets. Make sure you got the items in your, quote unquote packages that you need to do for promotion. You're going to get it. There's a streamlined train of thought for CISOs in the military. They all go to the same school. They all have to have master's degrees, CIS, whatever. They have a similar train of thought because they've gone through many years of managing information systems. That's what it's looked like. It's all the same. I mean, it's not all the same, but the principle and orders and the execution of it is all the same. This in the private sector, it could be anything. You could be falling into a mature cybersecurity organization, right, with a ton of resources, a ton of technology implementation, GRC tools, SIM, anything, all that stuff. Or you could be falling into a small startup where that is, hey, you're CISO, figure it out, right? So it's and from the management perspective, that can be very, very stressful. You're making things happen. You have your experience to draw on. Go to AI and say, AI says to do this. But guess what? Got to deal with politics. You got to deal with being able to acquire the resources. And that's part of the CISO job, right? And it's not just, hey, we're secure. It's also, how am I a champion for this at the C-suite, right? How can I get the funding, the manpower to get this done? And that's stressful, right? In any regard. Right? It's not just like in the military where I submit a request and I can get more whatever. I'm not saying that's easy, but you go to your admin and manpower person and say, hey, I can justify more orders to be cut for this command. Not the same in the private sector. So those are kind of my quick thoughts. I kind of went on a tangent there about military versus private, but I think it's good insight. I think that there is burnout, especially if you're a technical person dealing with business stuff. If you've gone up that pipeline as a technician, engineer to CISO, then you're having to deal with the C-suite. That level of authority. It can be stressful if you're not used to that level of decorum, right? So Ryan, what do you think?
So I would say, like, when you talk about that 33 or that 30%, I would say either they're, and this is me speculating, either they're at corporations or organizations that are not at the Fortune 500 level, or they have landed post scapegoat, right? That came in after a CISO was used as a scapegoat or the target to then come in and fix things. I don't believe that is the percentage of people who are either in the midst of their 18 to 26 months, right, or that are coming off of a failure of some sort, and now they've been besmirched, right? That their record is not looking so great. So I think those are the people who are like in that comfort zone that haven't been punched in the face basically just yet, because there really is no protections for CISOs, right? Like when you look at the C-suite, there's several levels of protection that they receive, to the point of like if you're in TDRM, like, or you're in CRM, right, corporate risk management, you send up a board report, right, or you send up a report to the C-suite, and that could be like 1,000 pages, 2,000 pages, and it's very well tailored before it gets to them, right? Of people saying like, oh, you can't say that, or this needs to be tweaked, or if you look at the data this way, it's more positive quarter over quarter, or if you look at it this way, it's better for them to be able to digest, but at the same time, they're not always getting the actual factual right when it comes to them. They have that buffer to say, oh well, this was said or that was said. CISOs don't get that same type of protection, right? Like they're more in the midst of the battle. They're like to Chris's point, they're more of the middle to senior management position. They're not at the corporate protected level, right? It's like, okay, you're in the trenches, so to speak. Even though they're not technically touching the equipment or what have you, they're closer to the tactical level of what is being done. So that way you can best report it up to those who have the purse strings, right? The CFO, CTO, CIO, whomever would be their boss. But they again have several levels of protection to the point to which now CISOs have to have pretty much the equivalent of malpractice insurance that doctors have, right? To protect them so that way they can move on to another company, or if they have to pivot or career switch, they have a little bit of a parachute on their way out. So it's kind of ridiculous the position nowadays and just the way it's settled or nested within the organization. You get all of the responsibility, you get none of the protection, which is crazy. That's a crazy position, and I see why people go for it because it's that level before you get to the C-suite, right? It's like you feel like you can actually enact change. You can listen to the people, especially if you grew up through the pipeline. And the salary is sweet, right? It's a median salary of 180 to upwards of a $250,000, right? And especially if you work for Fortune 500, you're making $250,000 plus bonuses and stuff like that. And then on top of that, again, you have your individual performance versus the corporate performance multipliers, right? When it comes to bonus time, so you want to make sure your individual performance uh, percentage is peak. Like I'm doing a great job here, and then you're ultimately responsible for the corporate percentage as well, right? Like so, if the stock takes a hit because of a big vulnerability or a ransomware attack or ransomware payout, that could be easily tied to you and your ability to perform. So you have all these pressures on top of you and none of the protection. So I'm burnt out talking about it. It's just stressful. So that's just my perspective on it, right? I've never been there. It is or was or it could be a position I would like in the future, but like seeing this, I'm just like, ooh. They never seems to be an article that says, CISOs are happy. I've never seen it. Does not exist as far as I'm concerned. So it does make you wonder if it's worth the price of admission. Because yeah, that you're going to fall on your sword potentially within 2 years.
You're
It's
you're not
crazy.
falling. You're not falling on it. They're running it through you. That's what's
Yeah,
happening.
they're
You're not
pushing you on top of
falling.
your sword.
You're not volunteering to fall on it and be like, "Yeah, I'll take the hit." They're like, "Nope, it's you." Sometimes on your back.
We got that Sephiroth, Final Fantasy VII.
Right. It jump from the rafters. But yeah, it's crazy. So before we move on, I want to make sure I plug a bunch of things. So definitely continue to check us out weekly. So we're on WDJY 99.1 FM in the Atlanta metro area. Wow, I can't speak. As well as simulcast on the TuneIn app on a weekly basis. That's Tuesdays at 5 p.m. We're on your podcast platform of choice. I try to get these episodes up around Tuesday is is what I go for. And then I also do the Ask a CISSP episodes of the show where I sit down and talk to those who are, those movers, shakers, and glass ceiling breakers within our community. So look out for those. I have one like scheduled every week for the next 11 weeks. So we're going to have a lot of those throughout the year to post. I try to leave some space in between them, but at the rate we're going now, I'm pushing them out pretty fast. So they're kind of almost in real time. So definitely check those out. The last one was with um, Trey Robinson from TAS Technical Solutions. So very awesome conversation of how he rose through the ranks and then became a entrepreneur. And then the next one is with living legend Elizabeth Stevens. So I've had her on the show a couple of times. She's an awesome guest, and she has a surprise for us as well. So check that one out. It should be up next week ish. And if you're not seeing it on the radio, it's because I only get one episode slot a week, so it may just be on the podcast platform. So I try to rotate them in and out as best as I can, but if we have an awesome episode on both occasions, you might be able to find the one that you're missing on the podcast platform. And then last but not least, please buy the guide. So the other side of the firewall is a guide, 177 pages, 27 interviews with people of color, women, neurodivergent professionals, career switchers, and veterans who all made it to the other side of the firewall. Definitely check that one out wherever you can buy books. but also go to theothersideofthefirewall.com and you can get it from me at a discount. So without further ado, gentlemen, Shannon first, how was your week?
Say something before I get into my week. Every time I hear you say last but not least, I start thinking about Eazy-E, man. Like every time you say it's last but not least, yo, Easy, no sellout. Every time. It just pops into my head and I can't get rid of it. But my week was good, man. Work was fine, not too crazy, even though our manning is dwindling a little bit. We're worried about government shutdown coming up. You take the
Again?
anytime.
Oh, what's going
We'll,
on?
we'll,
Why?
Yeah,
we'll
there's
Why?
a,
see.
yep.
Yeah, January 30th
I'm
is
so
what they're looking at.
disconnected.
Yeah,
I should know about that more. But like not being in the military any longer and not working for a federal institution at this time, I'd be forgetting. Man, it's crazy.
and again, like I'm somewhat prepared for it, right? Like so, just like last time, it'd be one of those things where my wife and I'll be walking around doing old people stuff. You know what I mean? We'll go to lunch and then go to Costco or like go to the grocery store, holding hands like we dating again. You know what I mean? That type of stuff. But there are people out there that if it does happen, I mean, they'll be in a different situation. But I hope it doesn't. But it is a possibility, and we'll see what happens from there, right? But when it comes to media watching, the wife and I, we were trying to catch up on Abbott Elementary. That's a good series for those of you that aren't watching. It's like in its fifth season now, and I'm noticing these shows are taking longer breaks now for that holiday break that they have. Like it's a little bit longer than what it used to be. It used to be like a few weeks, and then they're back. Like it's like a month and a half now for some of these shows now. But Abbott Elementary, good show. We were watching that one. We continued with the second season of High Potential, so the American version, not the HPI, which is the French version, I think. High Potential Individual, I think, was the French version that I think it's based off of. But High Potential, that's another good one that we're watching. We're trying to make it to where we get more time to sit down and watch stuff. You know what I mean? She, admittedly, when it comes to being at home, she's admittedly busier than me. I should probably help her out a little bit more, but don't tell her I said that. Nobody out there, don't tell her I said that. You know what I mean? But I should probably help her out a little bit more. But what else do we watch? The Pit. The season of The Pit. We caught up on that for the 2 episodes that are out there. I know Ryan and I we had a discussion on where I think it's going. I'm not liking it. You know what I mean? The direction I think it will go. I'm not saying I don't like the show, but yeah, I don't. We'll see what comes of it. But I think it's one of those things where when a show has success in its first season, like we've seen it going all the way back to Chappelle, right? All of a sudden the networks want to get their claws in and do network things. And I realize it's HBO is what this one is. So it's not like it's ABC, NBC, like the public network companies, but um I'm feeling the touch of corporate saying, "Hey, this is what we want to do now." Because that first season, like it wasn't formulaic. I don't think, right, for some of the stuff that they were doing. Now, I say that to say I've never watched ER. I've never watched Grey's Anatomy. I don't know if it's the same type of stuff, with those shows. But to me, I was like, I like this. Like, I like, how this is going and some of the things they address there. And there may be some stuff they address in this season that may be a little controversial. We'll see, right? Just based off current events. But I'm liking it so far, but if it goes the direction I want it to go, I may not watch season 3, which apparently it's already been picked up for. There are only two episodes in the season 2, but it's just one of those things where I'm like, I hate the formula for a lot of the stuff out there now that is very popular. Let me not say I hate. I don't like watching. Hate very much. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for us, man. The wife and I trying to spend some time watching those shows and whatnot. Chris, what about you, man? How was your week?
For over the holidays, had a good time. Obviously, spend time with family and everything. For TV, but we watched The Leftovers on HBO. Have you guys heard of The Leftovers? Love that show. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I watched it. Not in real time though. I like you. I like binged it after it was way over.
Yeah, and I just think that it was. I wanted it like I remember wanting to start watching it because I wanted like a mystery box like Lost, right? But it's just better written than Lost. It's just consistent throughout. All 3 seasons are excellent, and it covers different, parts of the main characters' lives, and it's very interesting on that, right? But we've also been watching a bunch of anime, right? My wife likes the shoujo type anime, so we watched Yona the Dawn, which is on Crunchyroll. Really good, and yeah, we've seen like Freyren and all that stuff. Really looking forward to some of the anime announcements this coming up this year. So it's it's so let's say necessarily jarring when you move over to anime, right? Anime, I love anime because every character has like internal monologue every time. It's like a meme, right? Oh, this is what they're feeling. But it's like I like that because it puts context into what their actions are. You get the reasons behind their actions. Yeah, it's kind of like a trope these days. People make fun of it, and like on Call of Duty, they'll do like anime boy or whatever. They make that voice, but I think it's just different, right? And I think you can get away with a lot more creativity from the writing perspective, and that's why I really like anime on that regard. For games, just been playing WoW every now and then. Nothing crazy. There was this Legion Remix event that's ending tomorrow or this week. So basically, you could play an overpowered character and level to the max within like a few hours. It's amazing. It's just super casual playing.
Nice. Yeah.
It was really easy, and it actually let me get to try a bunch of the classes. Right. So I like melee characters, not caster characters. That's just me, like getting down and dirty and smacking somebody with a big axe. I prefer to play versus casting spells. I don't know if you guys have
Chris
played that.
Smash.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, just Hulk smash all the way. So there's that. And then let's see, New Year stuff, right? I wanted to get back into tennis, right? So I want to, maybe start, join one of these adult leagues or something. I don't want to play pickleball, right? I'm not old enough yet. But
Pickleball's becoming so popular too, Chris. Like
it is
I'm
very
gonna tell
popular.
you something. Like here where I live, like there are big like spaces like that have been abandoned by other businesses that are turned into pickleball places. And even on the military installation, they're putting pickleball courts in, man. And I'm just like, wow,
It's great. It's absolutely great. And I think it's a great, like, it could be a nice little team building thing for units. It's really funny. Like, oh, I want to see you play pickleball with your commander. It'd be funny. Yeah. Pickleball is fun, but I like tennis better. I'm a tennis fan, huge tennis fan, looking forward to Australian Open and all that stuff. So that's my main sport besides, being a unfortunate Vikings fan, right? But other than that, that's pretty much it, right? I think working on some, personal hobbies and stuff like that, getting back into salsa dancing, stuff like that. That's pretty much it, right? Pretty fun.
Let me ask you something, man, because I've thought about this. Like I've seen it where people will say they'll take like, are you taking like dancing lessons with your wife or like what are you doing?
So I've actually been dancing salsa since like 2018. Like I've been dancing a
Okay.
long time, and we actually met as dancing. So it's just we're trying to get back into the scene, right? So actually going out and then maybe do a social here now and then and stuff like that. But it's taking group classes. Really, group classes is where it's at.
That's what I was gonna ask.
Yeah.
Is that how you started? Like you just found
Yeah.
somewhere that offered it?
I think the Colorado Springs probably has something, but it's usually the way it works is if you want to get started with any type of dancing, take the group classes first, right, to get an intro to it, right? So it's not like, hey, you got a bunch of beginners that don't know what they're doing. That's where you want to start, right? So you got to start small because it's like if you go into like one of these socials or whatever, you'll just be overwhelmed, like, oh my god, everybody's so good. So always recommend starting at those beginner one classes, and you'll enjoy it, right? Wherever you are, if you can find a little dance school, if you got a significant other or something, go. It's fun.
I want to, but like the thing is, it's the timing of it, right? So like when our children are going to bed and things of that nature, like
Yeah, that's true.
I don't want it to be like that time between dinner and when the children need to be put there because here's the thing, they want their time with their mom, not necessarily dad.
Yeah, that makes sense.
My dad is just like, hey man, keep getting us stuff and you're good, you're doing your part. Mom, we want to tell about our day and
yeah. Like, you might be lucky enough to find a place with like Saturday classes or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Saturday afternoon. But generally, yeah, you're right. They're usually work days, and it's like Tuesday or Monday through Thursday at like 7 to 9, right? Usually,
that's what I was seeing.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, check it out for listeners. You might enjoy it.
I've done it when I was in Turkey. Unlike Shakira, my hips do lie. Like I'm very much not coordinated, but it was fun. I've been talking about doing it with my wife for a while now, like salsa or bachata or something like that. Just like Shannon, it's hard to find times, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're in Central Florida, right? So it's like this is the place to do it.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
It's amazing. There's a lot of good places here.
So maybe one day I'll jump back on the bandwagon just for fun because I'm
Yeah.
terrible. But for me, so, pretty busy week. Not work wise because of the holidays. So I took a PTO day. So I got a 4 day. First 4 days since I left the military. It's great. So I finished Resident Evil 8. Great game. I really enjoyed it. I wish I had played it sooner. Now I wish I had played 7, but I just don't like first person perspective horror. Just not as scarier. It's like I feel like I can't see. I need to be able to see behind me and around me. Just wasn't doing it for me. But the game was awesome. So I recommend people play it before 9 comes out. There's some DLC that I need to play that continues the story of one of the characters. So I'm going to probably play that this weekend or today, I should say, because the week's almost over. Watch my Bills lose, get it out the way. It was our fault, so I admit it. Right, go Bills, regardless. But you can't have 4 turnovers before you hit OT, and then that was a bad call because that was not an interception. I'm gonna die on that hill, but that's not what lost us the game. We should have never been in that situation to begin with.
I'm gonna tell you something, Ryan. I don't know what a catch is anymore. And I say this because we had a game where Likely had 2 feet down in the end zone with the ball, and then it got knocked down. I'm like, wait a minute, you tell me all the time 2 feet down with possession is a
Yeah,
catch. But then when it happens and it's in the end zone, I guess the rules like I don't know what a catch is anymore. And I'll
it's
tell you
very
something, like
subjective.
yeah, the referees, I mean, they looked at it and called it. The office in New York said it's the right call. So like I don't know anymore. I don't know what a catch is in the NFL. So and McDermott, I saw a story this morning. McDermott was even getting on it, right? Like after the
Yeah, yeah,
game.
we watched it. Yeah, we watched. Josh Allen was very tearful in his. I was like, oh man, I want to see that. Same thing with Snowman. He was weeping a little bit, and then found out that Bo Nix is not even able to play. Right, season-ending injury. So like they're a wasted spot, or not. Like maybe they could pull through, but like I don't think it's not gonna favor well for them. So
I keep
it is
forgetting
what it
like
is.
how old Bo Nix is compared to the other, players. Like JJ McCarthy's 22 years old. Bo Nix is 25. That's like
Yeah,
from a development perspective, that's huge, right? So he's
Remember,
been.
he started at Auburn before he went to Oregon in
That's
college, right?
true,
So he
yeah.
transferred, and then I think he did 5 years, right? Like he was not yet. So
So
yeah,
here I am, like, oh, JJ is gonna be like, what? Look, I don't know if JJ is gonna pan out. He's 22 years old. Like it's like from now to till he turns 25,
mm,
there's 3 years of NFL development, right? And I think, I think we should have kept Darnold. Obviously, I think that's really a huge loss. Look at him, kind of annoying. I'm rooting for him now, though. I'm go Seahawks.
yeah, they dominated. That was a crazy
That
game. I
was
was like, that's
awesome.
that's the way we should have played.
Yeah,
But
right.
they're firing on all cylinders. They're healthy. Like it's just a different team, right? So it is what it is. But so that's over with now. So now I get to watch the rest of the season, not with stress. But before then, we went to the Jags game. So they played in Jacksonville. We drove up. We did a quick turn and burn. That was a really good game. A lot of fun. Obviously, we came back at the end, so it was edge of your seat. The stadium is okay. Like it's older, right? So you could tell like they're doing a bunch of renovations and what have you. But there wasn't really a bad seat in the house the way it was built. So we were up in the by the rail, and it was like perfect. I was just like, this is great. Like I don't need to be down there in the 100s, 200s. I see the game just fine. So shout out to them. We took them out, and now we've been taken out, and now the Denver will be taken out. So it's a feeding frenzy over here in our division.
it's to you, Ryan, but it might be the Pats year, man. I hate to
Yeah,
say. I
that's
know
what
you
it's
don't
looking
want to
like.
hear that. I know you don't want to hear that. Now, if they go and poop the bed today, right? Like, and Drake May doesn't play well again, maybe Houston can go on to make it happen. But like the NFC, as strong as Seattle looks, like I'm worried about them coming across one of these defenses that's remaining in the AFC, right? And then having Sam Darnold seeing ghosts again, like when he was with the Jets. You know what I mean? Because there was a couple times in Minnesota where they had a game plan where he was just like, I don't know what I'm looking at, just the way it looked, right?
Right.
So I don't know.
So yeah, we'll see what happens. TV wise, I'm watching The Pit as well. Amazing. I love that show. So I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. I'm not like Shannon here. I cannot predict what's going to happen. So we will see. Like you have a really good prediction. So we'll see if it comes to fruition. And then I feel like I saw a movie, but I can't remember what it was. So it must not have been that great. I'm gonna watch the Running Man today though. At some point, I'm gonna squeeze that into the either today or tomorrow because it's on Peacock now. So I'll check it out. But the movie that I saw was on Peacock. I can't remember what it was, but it was not that great. So I walked away like, man, that wasn't that great.
Was it one that was released in theaters, or is it one that's like
Yeah, it's just like it was brand new to Peacock. I cannot remember what it was, so it must not have been all that great. But aside from that, I'm just chilling, having a good time with this 4 day. Hopefully it keeps going. Which would have preferred for the Bills to keep playing, but at least my blood pressure can now lower for the rest of the football season. And yeah, oh, I started my second book in earnest, right? Like I have a outline of what I want to write, so I'm going to start writing it. My goal is to knock it out this year. That's not gonna say it's gonna be not to say it's gonna be good, but it's gonna get done. So we'll see how that works out. But I did get a little I caught the writer bug from the last one, so I at least want to knock this one out because it's been in my head for a while, and see if people like it or not. That's all I have to say about that. Like what's his face? Like
Forrest
oh
Gump?
man, yeah, Forrest Gump.
So I'm curious, like with all the like every week we do a show, right? And we see the stories that are out there and everything. I'm curious if you're going to be the Stephen King of the cyber world, where it's just horror story after horror
Man, that would
story,
be
and then
great.
you keep writing. Like
A cyber
I'm
cyber
curious. Yeah. This is what can happen to
great.
you,
That would be
right?
interesting, maybe like a textbook. Hey, these are the worst things that could happen. I don't know. It's very interesting.
Yeah. Well, so I have a copy. Like I'm not at Studio A right now, but I have a copy of a book called I believe it's called Horror Stories to Tell in the Boardroom. So Aisha Hollins was one of the authors on that one. It's pretty good. So I think people should check it out. But it has like 4 or 5 other authors, which I just don't know them personally. But it's kind of like a what's American Horror Story? Like when you have a bunch of different vignettes, kind of like that. So it does exist, but yeah, I was like this is not a horror story, but that might be my genre. The Stephen King of cyber horror is hilarious. But gotta land this plane. Thank you for all those who are listening. Continue to check us out. Again, we're on your podcast platform of choice, as well as WDJY 99.1 FM in the Atlanta metro area, and simulcast on the TuneIn app worldwide, Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Please continue to support us. Again, check out the YouTube channel. We're trying to hit 1,000 subs. We're nearing 800, so I know we can pull it through. It's just a matter of I always forget to tell people like, share, subscribe,
That's
all that
right.
good stuff. And then, yeah, pick up the book at theothersideofthefirewall.com or pretty much everywhere else that books are sold. Stay safe, stay secure.